Hey guys, welcome to a quick look into what 8.13 is going to look like. I was actually going to do this a little bit earlier into the week, but the PB is always changing. We had a bunch of AD carry buffs, but they look like they've kind of been sidelined now, so probably at least like one, maybe two more patches where crit AD carries are not really worth playing. We're just going to jump straight into it. So there were some hotfix changes for AD carries. Affinity Edge was made 100 gold cheaper. Essence Reaver, the passive flare duration was lowered to 6 seconds, but it grants 20% more attack speed. And Storm Razor gives 5 more AD, and bonus move speed was doubled to 20%. So those three are actually live in the game already, and I've been keeping track a little bit. And to be honest, they don't look like they've done much at all. Not much of a surprise really that 100 gold cheaper Infinity Edge didn't really fix the issues AD carries have. I might make a video about it eventually, but I was kind of hoping just like Riot would really fix it. Basically, a lot of changes came in speeding the game up. So like towers are weaker, Rift Herald's a bit better, it does more damage to towers, and Baron doing less damage, so it's easier to take. The list of those things goes on and on, but like then they made AD carries better late game and worse early to mid game. So basically the game shifted one way to early game, and then they shifted where AD carries are good the other way, and that is the problem we have now. There are some new AD carry changes. I said some of them got reverted, but actually two are still here. So Tristana's E AD ratio is increased by 20% rank 5. It's actually pretty good. You max it first, so you're going to get the benefit out of it straight away mid game, but it's a bonus AD ratio. Items feed into that, right? And you do not get items that early into the game. Ratios are better the later you go. It's actually the same deal with Twitch as well. 10% more AD ratio on his E, which is a really nice change. But again, your first 3 items are normally 1 AD and 2 attack speed. You don't have that much AD to boost it with early into the game. It seems really weird. Like, I don't want to really bash Riot, but it seems like they're kind of going the wrong way with these buffs. The issue is you've made the game faster, and AD carries are too slow and they're not good early game, right? So that is why you have loads of champions that are good at 0 or 1 items bot lane. They can do more damage and get ahead that way. Giving these AD carries slightly better ratios, which they need items to use, doesn't help at all. I personally actually think they should just give us the base stats back that they took away, or revert actually to the old Infinity Edge again, and it'll probably be okay. A couple of final things for AD carries, so like Rage Raid, the passive stacking bonuses have been lowered. AD and AP down from 4% to 2.5% each stack. Not just for AD carries, obviously, but now it's down to 15% total instead of 24% when it's fully stacked, and it does seem kind of a bit extreme. The good side is, though, the attack speed for this hasn't been touched at all. So for AD carries or champions using it more for the passive more than anything else, it will still be really good. You don't tend to like get loads of AD in those builds anyway, unless you're a bruiser building this, where it's going to be a lot worse. Hella Blades, the Keystone, is getting a few more buffs as well, so time between attacks is going to be a bit better, and the cooldown is going to be better as well. Remember, they gave this a lot more attack speed in 8.12, but apparently nobody is still using it, and it is still that bad that they have to buff it straight away again. These are honestly the last things they could buff with this Keystone before they have to probably give it a little bit of a mini rework already. It does make it easier to use for sure, so it is going to be better. It's just not as good as other options, like other stuff that we can take. We'd rather have like a Fleet Footwork or Press the Attack or Conqueror. So if we move into general changes, we have a bunch of champion stuff, not really like a role specific anymore, but these are actually pretty big changes. First thing is for everybody. So the early game snowball is going to be reduced a little bit. So they're adding back the bounty on 2 kills and maybe actually more for 3+ as well. The early death timers in the game are going to be lowered between levels 1 and 7, and the global gold for outer towers has been halved. Having a bounty for just 2 kills now means that you'd have a bit more of a chance to come back in a game if you can get that kill. Like a 2-kill lead isn't really the end of the world, right? And a boost of gold might bring you back to a more even level. Having early death timers lower means that if you die in the early lane phase, you're actually going to get back to lane quicker and miss less. So in theory, this should prevent lanes going out of control as quickly. It's honestly mostly about not missing minion waves crashing in, because you're going to respawn a bit faster, or I guess you can get back to lane and die quicker again if that's your thing instead. Global gold for outer towers is only 50 less, but it stops the whole team getting as far ahead. It'll probably take a bit more than this, but it will slow down the game a little bit. Honestly, it's mostly the Rift Herald and Baron changes, I think, really, that have spiraled it out of control. So the biggest champion change of this patch is probably to Kindred, really. Her W has a new passive added. It's not actually new, but we'll get to that in a second. As Kindred moves and attacks, they build up stacks up to a maximum of 100, so kind of like a Fleet Footwork or Static Shifts, kind of like that. At full stacks, your next basic attack drains a bit of health based on your missing health. The active part, by the way, is completely the same, the circle area, but no longer reduces monster attack speed. Kindred is actually doing a little bit better since the new patch anyway. They aren't broken, broken, but they are better. And somebody must love Kindred in the balance team, I swear. This would mark 4 patches in a row where Kindred has been buffed, by the way, and it's actually a partial revert. In patch 6.13, so yes, like literally basically 2 years ago in season 6, they removed this on-hit heal with the stacking system and added the monster attack speed slow so you take less damage. They are really just going back and adding this in again for her. The heal removal actually really hurt at the time when they took it out, so no doubt it's going to be a really good addition and make Kindred stronger. Like, we've already seen this on them before, right? And it worked before, it was strong, so they took it out. So now they're just adding it back. There is actually quite a lot on the PB about the boost strat, trying to cut this out. So we've seen a lot of the boost strats recently, right? The gold funneling where you put a support mid and give everything to the jungler. They are clamping down on that really hard on the main offenders to stop it for now. So Marcy's Q is going to cost a bit less, but no longer deals bonus damage to minions. Yi and Taric was kind of the one that really started this, right? So they're nerfing Yi. It's a bit of a weird way to do it because you're hurting lane Yi as well, but they're saying like if you want to push as Yi in lane, now it's going to be a lot slower. The idea behind this is obviously that you can't clear out mid lane and then go back to the jungle as easily or as fast, so it will limit how much gold he gets. Apart from those two, you had the Nunu and Carter strat, right? So this time they're going after the support, the Nunu. This actually makes way more sense, starting off at a 20% boost and then giving you more if you want to stack some AP in your build, so it scales. I think this is really more of how like it actually should have worked in the first place. When they first designed this, it should have been like this. The whole point of this one is you cannot follow Karthus around and buff his AP as much as you were before. So they're actually nerfing the Taric part of the Taric E strat as well. I don't know if that's the exact reason why, but he is getting a random nerfs. The damage on his E should actually go up a bit later because it's using 50% of your bonus armor now to boost it, but the bigger part is 20 more seconds on his ultimate. Going up to a 3-minute cooldown is a really big thing for laning. You can't fight as much at all, as much as you want to anyway. It's really moving him into being a good teamfight champion rather than a roamer, which is probably, that part at least, is probably targeted at the boost strat. So Pike has a bunch of changes. Health per level is down, but magic resistant armor is going to be increased. Your E bonus AD ratio is going to be up as well. Base damage a bit lower, and same for your ultimate. Base is a bit lower, but the AD ratio is better. You'll have like 170 less health at level 18, but 17 more armor, 13 more magic resist, so that's not really that bad. These are definite buffs though, but they're buffs to AD Pike, not this aftershock tank Pike that we keep seeing people use. They are deliberately saying actually, if you build tanky, your damage will be a lot worse. If you build a ton of AD though, you'll be using a lot more of it. And honestly, 30% more, 20% more, those are good AD ratios, especially actually with his ultimate where it affects how high health he can execute people. That is a really good thing to have more AD pumped into. Camille is finally getting a few changes. She is a top tier jungler, right? Top laner, probably a bot laner at this point as well, whatever, I guess, right? And for those of you who tend to max Q first, this won't really affect you, but most people nowadays will max their E first, and losing 55 damage off of that mid game is a big chunk of it. As you get further into the game, it's not going to really matter as much really, with all that true damage you have flying around, all the items and AD ratios, but definitely early to mid game, your full combo is going to be a lot weaker, and obviously that is the kind of key point of the game right now. Mundo is going to have his E max AD lowered to 180 from 220, rank 5, and the minimum is also going to be lowered by 20. I'm not sure if I'm a real big fan of these ones. Like top lane Mundo maxes Q first, right? Normally at least. And jungle Mundo maxes E first. This is really only a nerf once you start to max it. So it's definitely trying to stop Mundo being as good of a jungler, not really as good of a top laner. It's a bit weird when we see mostly top lane Mundo anyway. But at the end of the day, you pick him to be a giant meat shield, not really to smack people around. It's a good like bonus to have that for sure, and it might start to hurt his farming a little bit in the jungle. That's more where I think the issue will be. If he's worse, that'll be why. Gragas is actually a lot like Kindred that keeps getting buffs, but they're just actually not helping. He's still right at the bottom, unfortunately, even after all of the changes recently trying to help him out. So his W cooldown is going to be lowered to 5 seconds at all ranks instead of 8 to 4. 3 seconds off of that to start the game. It's actually really good. If Gragas was meta like a year ago or whatever, and they gave him this buff, it would have been nuts. He'd have been so good. This is more damage reduction, remember, and more damage itself as well. It's like 8% of their maximum health, I think. It's a really big chunk of damage. Aurelia is finally getting a random nerfs. She should still be okay, honestly, but it will limit her sustained damage a little bit more. Like her passive is getting hit, so is her W, and so is her E. Her W is going to do less damage, making it more about the defensive side of things than damage, which makes a lot of sense. It actually has had a few changes on the PB, so we're not sure exactly where it's going to go. Either the AD ratio is going to be lowered, or it's going to be from 120% AD to just a flat 100 AD. That would obviously probably mean that she's a little bit better like mid game, but late game she'd be a little bit weaker and she wouldn't do quite as much burst damage. Alongside that, we have a E mark lasting a second less, which means she has a little bit less playmaking potential, a little less mobility in fights as well, and her passive just means that your attack a bit faster, but you'll be doing less damage with each swing. Singed might be getting a little bit boned in this patch though. Singed has had the top win rate in the top lane for absolutely ages, right? But this is definitely gonna hurt. Halving the maximum health damage you're gonna do on your E down to 3% rank 1 instead of 6%. When you finally go in for that kill or to trade properly, you'll be doing a lot less. At least when you end up maxing it, it evens out more or less, but with the game being a lot faster again and you maxing E second normally, most games will be over by the time you start to actually get the damage back on it. It's definitely a nerf to early to mid game, which is where Singed is supposed to be most powerful, especially when he builds AP. Now Kassadin will need way more help than this in my opinion. The stacking tier part is nice for him actually, but if you look at most sites, his early game win rate is just so bad. He still needs a bit of time in the game to be good. Time he is not getting right now anyway. Both of these buffs are actually really cool. Like they're nice to help him, but like Kassadin is a scaling champion and that is not what this game is about at all at the moment, so it's going to be hard to make him meta. Riven is getting a few changes, almost the same issues as AD carry right now. I think her items seem to actually be a really good spot, but like the game is just a little bit too fast to get them. Giving her a better AD ratio on her ultimate is a really good thing, and it makes that even better obviously, but it doesn't help out the early to mid game that much at all. I think this will be one of those things where like it might not change that much for now, but once the game slows down a little bit, which it eventually will do, Riven could be insane with the new Sterix and this change afterwards. Until Spellbook is getting a decent buff though. Each unique summoner you swap to decreases a swap cooldown by 20 seconds instead of 15. Haven't really seen much of this keystone honestly. Most people have moved away from it after the rework we had. This will make it slightly better. It's not going to magically fix it or anything. Like some champions like Malzahar can use it really well, but they would rather just go for more damage with Aerie anyway. And that's the issue it has. There are other better options. So that's going to wrap up the new 8.13 patch. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did. But for now, I will leave you with the robots.